I see pretty much every sloppy, stinky horror film that comes out. It's something I have a lot of fun with, and I really thought I had seen it all when it comes to stupid characters or like a really dumb story. But what I just experienced with I Know What You Did Last Summer was a game changer. It's a new horizon here. I didn't know it was possible to make characters this dumb. They somehow accidentally made every character on screen Patrick Star. It's unfathomable how everything that exists in this film is insulting to the human intellect. Every character is like if Moron did a fusion dance with Idiot. It's a wacky blend of lunacy here. So this is the third I Know What You Did Last Summer film, and it does take place in that universe. It's not like a soft reboot or anything. It is the third movie, and it does even have the legacy characters from the other films. It has Jennifer Love Hewitt in it. It has Freddie Prinze Jr. in it. And they do play their iconic characters. And my God, what they chose to do with them here, I would be firing my agent for even getting me in this movie. I would be pissed. They must have been paid out the ass here. Clams out the wazoo to say yes to a script like this. Everything about this film is really dumb. But it is fun bad at times. I'm going to be getting into spoilers here, obviously. This is your warning. Now this spoiler warning is over. So I Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm sure most of you know they do something bad and then they're getting punished for the thing they did bad. To boil it down to the simplest bare butt cheeks of what the premise is. They are in their car. They think they hit and kill someone. It ends with them getting killed, basically in an act of karma. There's a second film, but that's the bread and butter. This film has a new cast that on 4th of July, they're celebrating by going for a drive, and they've been drinking, they're smoking, and one of them, his name is Teddy, he's playing in the street, and there's a car coming, and he wants to play chicken with it, so he's like, yeah, I'll take the car on. Yeah, come on, get him over here. I'll punch the car like I'm fucking Chris Redfield with a boulder. So he's sitting there and everyone's like, Teddy, get out of the road, you're gonna get hit by a car. And he refuses to, which leads to a car coming, it swerves, and then it blasts through the safety rail. They're on a cliff's edge, and the car is teetering on the edge about to fall, but the driver's still alive, and he doesn't want to die. They're trying to save him, to no avail, falls off the edge, and the driver is most likely dead, but they're debating, what do we do? We need to go down there and try and help him, but there's no way of getting down there. They're so fucking high up, there's no way to get there. So Teddy decides to call the police, and then the police are showing up, and turns out the guy died. But they made the decision not to go to the police station to report what happened. They were afraid that they'd get in trouble. They were afraid that they'd get slapped with manslaughter charges. So immediately it's clear everyone in the cast just blew in from Stupid Town. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. This was truly an accident. And they didn't do anything wrong per se. They called the police. They did want to help. They did try and help to save this guy and get him out of the car and, save his life after this, tragedy was unfolding. But then they make the decision not to report what happened. When if they did, they likely wouldn't have been in big trouble. That's a very easily explainable thing to the authorities. And it's not like it was a drunk driving situation. They even made it clear that the girl driving, Danica, she was sober. So it wasn't really no one was at fault except for Teddy for being rambunctious in the middle of the road and not getting out of the way in time. Which, sucks, but it's not like they did something downright evil, and they did do everything right after that, besides just telling the police about it. When, if they did, there'd be no problem at all, I imagine. But anyway, they don't. They make the decision to keep it a secret, and then, of course, you know how the rest of the story goes. A year rolls around, and somehow the situation there comes back to haunt them. The guy may be dead, but someone is picking off all of the people associated with the accident. Is the guy even dead in the first place? Are they being hunted by a ghost? And this guy is dressed up the same as the original from 1996. He's got the fisherman's jacket on. They call it a slicker. He's using a hook, and he's slaughtering anyone that was associated with that And of course, he uses the signature "I know what you did last summer" when he sends a card to them. It's really, like, bad in comparison to the original premise where they did do something, like, actually wrong and, like, try and get away with it. In here, it was an actual accident. They didn't do anything wrong, but then just decided not to tell the authorities, like, how that tragedy unfolded. For some reason, they were just, like, really fearful of consequences that they likely would not have faced. But that's what sets everything in motion. And that's, like, far from the worst writing in the film. But I just wanted to express that even the general premise, like what gets this started, I think is really dumb. Like, I think it's super stupid. But even dumber than that is how all the characters handle this. They know that someone is out to kill them. Yet they take no precaution at all to protect themselves. Like, best example is Teddy. Teddy's in a sauna, and someone writes on the window there in Steam, "You're next." And Teddy's just like, he gets a big frown. And then the next scene, we see Teddy outside drinking some brewskis, and then for some reason, he's got like a malfunction in his gate. So he goes and tries to fix it, but he walks down this dark alleyway, knowing full well, this is right after the sauna, message, knowing full well that the killer is out to get him. This doesn't trigger any alarm bells in his noodle. But as he's walking down the hallway, there is a figure in a fisherman's jacket outlined who is standing very still. It is clearly visible, even though the alley is dark. You can clearly see that the killer is standing right there. And for some reason, Teddy brushes shoulders with him to hit the button that they're blocking. And it doesn't, like, I thought it was like a power move or something. Like he's asserting his dominance. He's so alpha because they were kind of like positioning him as that kind of character. But no, that's not it at all. Somehow he just didn't notice that the fisherman's jacket was the killer, even though they had already identified that that's what he wears. And it's not like that's a normal thing for the hallway. Like there's like a mannequin or something that was there that the killer was standing in front of. But there's no way you could possibly confuse the two, and it was clearly visible. But for some reason he just goes and, like, I don't know, excuses himself next to this guy. Like, pardon me, sorry, I gotta hit this button. And then he, of course, gets killed. And, like, he's really surprised that he's getting killed. He's like, oh my god, the master of stealth has struck again. Like, it's worse than the AI in an Assassin's Creed game. I could not believe that scene. At every possible step in this film, the characters make the worst decision possible. Another example, using Teddy and Danica. They're at a cemetery, they're investigating. The person that died, his name was Sam Cooper. Apparently, drug addict. He had no one close to him. His man is a phantom. But they find that he's got a tombstone. So they go to check it. It turns out there's some fresh flowers there. So they want to check the cameras to see who placed those flowers, because that'd be a pretty clear indication that someone was close to Sam Cooper and is killing them in an act of revenge because that accident led to Sam Cooper's death. Anyway, they're partnered up for safety, yet for some reason, when it comes to checking the camera, only Teddy goes to do that. Danica just shoos him away, and Teddy volunteers, well, kind of volunteers, to go check the cameras, knowing full well the killer is hot in their butthole. Like, at any moment could pop up and kill them. For some reason, they split up like that. And then, can you believe it? He shows up. The killer shows up, but luckily Teddy was able to save Danica before things got too hairy. It's so stupid. Like, why did you split up in the first place there, knowing full well that there is a killer on the loose just executing people? He's already killed 2 people. It's just unbelievable. And then they continue, like, for example, Danica's fiance got murdered by the killer. He wasn't at the scene or anything, but the killer is just, like, annihilating everyone, even, like, remotely in the same vicinity as the core cast. So he kills the fiance, and yet she continues to stay in that same fucking house for the whole film. Not only her, but everyone goes to that house where that murder has taken place just fucking like a day ago. Like, the blood is still, like, on the walls. Like, it is still so fresh. His spirit is probably still haunting those walls, and you are using it as home base, a place the killer already clearly knows inside and out and has no problem getting to and killing. Why are you staying there? You, like, go to anywhere else. Go to the goddamn local Denny's and camp out, like, anywhere. What is the thought process here? And every time they go back to that house, somebody dies or gets close to it. It's so dumb. Like, you can't, even if you took the actual statistically provable dumbest person alive right now on Earth, the actual jackpot lottery winning biggest moron, I think even they would make better decisions than anyone in this movie did. I could keep yapping about this and using other examples, and I just might, but I want to get to what I think is the most egregious demonstration of just disrespect to the franchise that you are adding to. This is the big spoiler. The killer is, of course, a tag team team up, a dynamic duo, which has become a favorite in horror movie slashers these days, where it is Ray, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s Ray, you know, the one that went through so much trauma in the first two movies. It's Ray, who's killing most of them, and then one of the characters in the cast, Stevie, who was there when Sam Cooper met their unfortunate demise from that accident. The motive behind this is Sam Cooper was actually Stevie's love interest. They were like really close, like they loved each other, and Sam was worried about Stevie on that night, so went to find her, but then that ended up in tragedy. And Ray made a promise to Stevie's parents that he'd look after her. So when he heard that the man she loved died because of that accident, Ray just snaps and decides, we're going to cook up this year-long revenge plan where we're going to murder all of your friends and I guess anyone they even touch, because they now all got the cheese touch. Anyone they touch, we're going to kill. In the same way that all of my friends were killed and has traumatized me for fucking 3 decades now. 2 movies worth. I'm going to help you do that. An actual, like, dog shit brain idea. Why would you do, like, the motive isn't even strong for either of these characters, by the way, because when Stevie is monologuing and she reveals to Danica and Danica and Ava that it's her that's been killing and says all that about Sam Cooper, when she's monologuing, Ava correctly points out that Stevie was also there at the scene that night and also decided to leave without telling the police and keep it a secret. Which is like, I think, a checkmate. It's like, Ava's right, you did do that. Why are you now killing all of us when you are just as guilty? And her excuse was, well, I didn't know it was Sam Cooper at the time. And it's like, well, what the fuck? It's still a really flimsy motive for all of this. Like, you are still just as culpable as the rest of the people you are killing right now. It's unhinged. They couldn't even make a good motive for Ray to break bad here and become the villain, and couldn't even make a good motive for Stevie being, you know, one of the killers. It's so weak. It is so fucking weak. And keep in mind, they did do everything right except not giving their statement to the police, but they did call the authorities to try and get help. They tried to help him themselves. It just, ultimately, there was nothing that could be done after the accident had occurred. He was dead no matter what. Sam Cooper did not survive. Even if they did try and somehow, like, rappel down there and get to him, he was dead. So, like, Stevie, everything about this fucking movie is so stupid. I don't need to keep blabbering on about it, but it was crazy to me that they actually made Ray the killer. And what's even crazier is how predictable it was, too. I was just really hoping I was wrong. You see, this film actually tells you who the killer is in the first, like, 15-ish minutes. Basically, like, the second kill, they tell you who the killer is. But you, as the viewer, someone who's maybe seen the previous 2 I Know What You Did Last Summer films, don't want to believe that because it's so dumb. But it turns out they really did just go, like, that stupid with it. In the first 15-20 minutes, they introduce this character. Her name is Tyler. And she has a true crime podcast, and she's in this area because she's doing a piece on the murders for the I Know What You Did Last Summer, you know, OG, the 1997 murders. She's doing a piece on it, and she takes Ava to this place that is significant to that lore, and the killer strikes there. It's Ray. Ray is the killer there. And Ava kind of gets the best of him, slashes him with a knife, and then Ray, you know, changes his focus to killing Tyler. Oh my god, you know what I just forgot to mention? Another one of Ray's main motivators that he himself says from his own fucking lips is that another big thing that made him want to do this is he didn't like how the history had been scrubbed because the rich people came in and they tried to erase the town's history with those murders because it wasn't appealing to investors in real estate. So they buried it and hid the truth. And Ray said he didn't want to be forgotten. Well, you know what would help you not be forgotten, Ray? Maybe if you didn't kill the podcaster who has apparently a very popular podcast about those murders, and she was there to make a piece on those murders, but for some reason he decides to kill her as well. So it's not even like a whole thing about revenge, and it's not even in line with what he wants to do about getting his name back out there so people don't forget the atrocities. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I keep getting lost on tangents because it is actually that incomprehensibly stupid. I can't help but just fucking keep yapping about it. Anyway, as he's cornered Tyler, he gets her on the hook, and she rips off the top of the fisherman's cloak, and she says, "You." And the reason that's significant is because she has only encountered one person in this film outside of Ava, and we know it's not Ava because Ava was just attacked downstairs. And that person is Milo, who was another one of the cast that was at the scene with Sam Cooper, and I thought could be like a viable candidate to be this killer, like maybe there was some kind of hidden connection with Sam Cooper, but it's only Milo, and then of course, Ray. Also Julie, because Julie and Ray both survivors of the murders that she is covering on the podcast, but it can't be Julie because she is just not even in this area at all, and that's well established. So it has to be either Milo and Ray, but it can't be Milo because Milo dies not long after. It has to be Ray, and it's pretty clear it's Ray with the way she says "you." So they immediately let you know it's Ray, but it's so hard to come to terms with them going that direction that I refuse to believe it. I thought it was Milo, and I thought Milo was faking his death. Like, that's how much copium I was on, that this film wouldn't be that stupid, but it is actually that stupid. I am shocked at how bad the writing here is and how dumb all the characters are. Oh, another thing. It's not only an insult to Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character here with what they did with Ray, but Julie, Jennifer Love Hewitt, her character is useless here. She's brought in, and she doesn't really help at all when they go to her because obviously there's big similarities between what she went through and what they're going through, so they track her down. Ava goes to her and tells her what's happening, and she's like, "Okay, well, you need to kill him before he kills you." Well, she doesn't say it with like that directly, that blunt, but she says, "You need to find who this is." No shit, Julie. Obviously, they need to find who it is. What kind of tactics are those? That's not helpful. Obviously, they need to do that. They were already in the process of doing that. And she doesn't offer anything beyond that, really. Like, she pops up here and there where she's kind of like on her own thinking about it, and then Ray goes to her place. They've had like a really rough split from the marriage, which is never really explored why, but apparently he's like repressed all the trauma and it like took a toll on the relationship or something. But he goes there and he says, "Julie, like, you really shouldn't be telling them to do that." And then he leaves. And then at the end of the movie, somehow Julie figures it out because Ava tells her Stevie was the killer. And Julie's like, "Well, Stevie couldn't be working alone." So she Googles it, and turns out Ray and Stevie work at the bar together. And thus she knew it had to be Ray working with Stevie to kill all of them in the similar fashion to what happened to them. She figures all that out, drives down there to confront them to try and save Ava, because she knows Ava is there. But she shows up unarmed. She calls the police, sure, but the police aren't there. She shows up to the bar unarmed, not even knowing if Ava is alive. And then when Ray is monologuing, just fucking trauma dumping, exposition vomiting, Julie just stands there and still has nothing to do to try and protect Ava, who's already been stabbed. She doesn't have a gun. She doesn't have a baseball bat or anything at all. Why would someone like Julie, who's been through so much and now knows that this killer is about to harm Ava, whom she's grown to care about, why would she show up with nothing to do to try and defend Ava? That made no sense to me. It was so silly. The cops weren't even there or anything either, so she actually offered nothing other than maybe like a convenient distraction for someone else Ray could kill while Ava was already injured. And what ends up happening is Ava shoots Ray with a fucking harpoon and kills him. But like, it was so weird to me because why wouldn't she just be armed? In her home, it's shown that she takes her security very seriously. She's got like a bunch of cameras around. She's very attentive. But even there, she doesn't have any weapons. Like when there is like alerts on her phone, which ended up being Ray showing up, she didn't like pull out a gun or anything. She grabbed a pair of scissors. Why would she not be prepared for, something like this when she very much clearly cares about the security of herself as well as someone like Ava? It just didn't make sense to me why she wouldn't go there with like a plan. I don't know. Like everything about this film, they made every character so dumb. And not only that, I think there was like a bit of an identity crisis when writing this movie because it seemed like there were times where it wanted to break through with self-awareness and comedy. Like it tried to make like humor about some of the tropes. And what I mean by this is, for example, Danica's fiance dies. Well, in the next scene where they're at the police station, she's crying because her fucking husband was just murdered in her home and she walked in on the corpse that also had a message written in blood about not being able to escape the past. Well, now she's at the police station and she's making jokes. Like she's crying, but then she makes a joke where she's like, so does that mean I'm a widow now? And Ava's like, yeah, a hot widow. And she goes, the hot is implied. And it's like, what the fuck? After that, like it's like I think it's supposed to be traumatic, right? You would think, but if you want to like go for a comedy route, you can make that work with like playing everything off as a joke. But it doesn't. It only has like select scenes like that. Most of it is played off very, very seriously. Granted, they don't execute the seriousness very well just because everything is so flat and lackluster. But like, there's only a couple of random moments where like they use comedy at all. And it comes at the weirdest times. I don't really get it because it's not setting itself up to be like a comedic film at all. Like it's very far removed from that. But it just has these inexplicable lines where they like insert a joke during like the most tense situations and then immediately go back to playing it really straight. I don't understand. Very interesting tone there, I guess. And then at the end of the movie, this is something I imagine a lot of people will mention with the way the film ends, like after all is settled. The last lines of dialogue between Ava and Danica, they're the only two that survive. They're eating lunch after their stay in the hospital from the injuries they sustained. And Danica goes, OMG, I think you're like my soulmate. Or no, she doesn't say OMG. She says, Ava, I think you're my soulmate. And Ava says, I am your soulmate. And then she goes, Diva's up. And then makes a mention. This is actually in the movie. She says, Stevie's still alive. Stevie being the killer. And then Danica's like, you think we should kill her? And Ava goes, that's a little extreme, but yeah. That's the way that's the way they send the movie out. Well, kind of. There's like a mid-credit scene. I can't believe I actually stayed for the mid-credit scene. I had a feeling they were going to do something else because I thought they'd show Stevie surviving because Stevie gets shot by Ray, but turns out he didn't actually shoot her. It was all to, get Stevie out of there. But I thought they were going to show Stevie or something as like I know what you did last summer, coming soon again. But instead what they do is they have Julie go to her old roommate's house and show a picture where the roommate is X'd off, and she had received this. So they need to team up to take down this killer that's after them now. It's fucking awful. It's really bad. The movie is really, really bad. Worse than you're expecting. I mean it when I say these are the dumbest characters I've seen. Maybe in general, for like a slasher film, it is shocking how stupid they are. I'm not going to keep yapping about it. I could. There's even more dumb shit I could talk about with the characters in here, but what is even the point? It's already been like 20 minutes of me yapping about this, and I don't think anyone even cares about the movie that much in the first place, but I couldn't help myself. I'm actually spitting. I don't know if you can see the spit coming through here, but I'm actually spitting. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya.